Going live. All right. Dude, Sully, brother, man, it's sure been a journey. It's great to connect with you here, man. Last time I saw you was she's like last week when I was at the Prosmia band practice and you were there helping out with some things, being a amazing producer that you are. But set aside that, before I went to Mexico, I had a very, very intriguing yet emotional. It's very, very intrigued and emotionally affected by your experience, and not it set aside the music, just within life in general. Um, uh, I just I was just in freaking tears watching this video that you played me on YouTube when we were in the studio, and it's the last bass line I played for Prosmia Scream of Genovese until they switched over to Gilly. Shout out to Gilly, and that's why I rocked the shirt. I wanted to um, show some respect. That was a very fun day and a very light, ethereal day for playing bass in a metal band song. And set aside not knowing it was going to be my last bass for this recording y'all were doing, because I decided to stay in Mexico. So it's now it's even more emotional for me. But this video that you showed us, in knowing you for the past couple years or so, and of you before then, since you're pretty much a local legend in the metal scene in Colorado, in other bands, set aside Mother of Exile. Whoo, that new single that you dropped,
Thank you.
let's, yeah, dude, the intro and your work and your videography and everything that you do, especially mind, body, soul, metaphysically, spiritually, and just engineering wise, is just on point and in tune with how your frequency vibrates and you engineer yourself. And I can tell, brother. And I came back, I was in Mexico when y'all put that teaser out, and I was like, dang, something's happening. But let's get back to before I left for Mexico. Dude, you showed us. I mean, some of them had already seen it, but you showed us this video, bro. There's a band you were in called Afreet.
Yeah, I'm in a band called Afreet, which is the remaining members of a band called District Unknown.
Oh, okay, so
Which,
you're still in the band, and District Unknown is from Afghanistan, correct?
yeah, District Unknown is the OG. District Unknown fractured, and Afreet is the remaining members of it. It was the first and only metal band in Afghanistan, ever.
And you were in that band.
7 years.
Okay. God, I didn't know the 7 years part. So that, knowing what I just barely even know from that day, that sounds like a horror movie within a joyful experience.
Exactly. Yeah. Totally. Yeah. It was a mixed bag, dude. And it was the same with my time over there, man. There was so much joy and so much darkness all at the same time in one container, it's pretty indicative of what District Unknown also represents to me in terms of my memory with that band. But yeah.
I do understand that this is a very vulnerable and sacred subject to you, and I really appreciate you holding time within space, because you're a very busy person with all the things that you manage in life, and for jumping on to just be yourself and express a little bit of your story before you got to Colorado. And dude, what is this documentary that you were in before was the song put out before the documentary about Afreet, or what, what?
Yeah,
what,
yeah.
what?
So there's important to make two distinctions here. We got District Unknown on one hand, and we have Afreet on the other. And
Okay.
District Unknown was the OG. That was the first metal band in Afghanistan ever. That's the band I was a part of for 7 years. And I'm still very close friends with most of the guys from that band. And I, in fact, started Afreet with another remaining member of that band when that band fell apart. So, yeah, that's kind of the history of that. Now, the documentary is called Rockable, and it
Mm.
was shot by a close friend of ours named Travis Beard. He's an Australian filmmaker, and he really, really great guy, uh, very, very talented storyteller. And originally they had named it Martyrs of Metal, but that was a little bit too spicy. And yeah, there's a lot of moving parts when you put a documentary out in terms of marketing and
Well,
marketability. That's a lot like naming a song.
right, right. So what? Martyrs of Metal is the name of the song, the video.
Martyrs of Metal was the original name of the documentary, but it got scrapped. It got taken off because it was too spicy. So
Too
they went
spicy
with
for Afghanistan or USA or
for
just
the world. I
calling
think
total
everyone,
everything.
yeah, because martyrdom has a religious connotation to it,
Yeah.
and you'll see this kind of crop up several times during this interview. Is the kind of uh, I don't want to say conflict, but the back and forth between the modern element and the more traditional conservative religious element, of which Afghanistan's a very traditional, very religious country, extremely. Um,
Right.
and so
Right.
there's always that kind of back and forth battle happening uh, between the old school conservative thinkers who really didn't want, and to this day don't want. And I tell this to people all the time. Like most people in Afghanistan, they did not like what we were doing. They did not like what we were about, and it was dangerous to a
What?
point where they
Why would?
really didn't like it.
I mean, I understand a little bit of why it was dangerous, but I mean, in my mind, I'm like, holy crap, dude! Like the Taliban showing up to your show with AK-47s and telling you to get off stage. Like, am I close to like being right on that?
No, that never happened.
Okay.
So what it is like, I mean, I've had stones thrown at me on stage. I'll just say it that way. Like we played something called Truck Fest, is something that Travis had organized in the city of Mazar Sharif, which is a beautiful, beautiful ancient city where I do have some family members, and notably my vocalist Yosef, his family is from that area, and
Okay.
so we'll get to the part later in the story where he actually got imprisoned, and
Wow.
he got thrown into prison and was there without reason or rhyme and didn't know. He thought he was going to rot to death in prison just for being in a metal band. But I mean, that's where Truck Fest happened. That's where all the danger for him in Mazar started, because Mazar Sharif is like a really, really spiritual. It's one of the spiritual capitals of Afghanistan. Tons and tons of history and religious background there.
Right, and
Um,
I've read the Quran. I love the Quran, dude. Like Quran, however you say. Like it's a beautiful freaking book. The cover is golden. Like and they mention Jesus in there. That's a prophet. They talk about Allah, and Allah is just another energy of God, which is another creation of Muhammad and everything. It's so beautiful, dude. The cover of that just shines gold, and I was like, of course I'll so I'm one of those guys like in an Uber ride in Texas wanted to gift it to me. Of course I'll take this book. It's freaking golden, dude.
yeah,
And I
man.
read, yeah, and
And I don't have ill will towards religious people. I think I went through my phases of that. The more and more time has gone on, I've reconciled those differences and seen the light, and realizing too that most religious people aren't the same ones that were trying to cut our heads off. They were just average people living their lives, trying to do their best.
like
Um,
you, would you say they were like a Jesus freak out here, considered to someone that might be and out of their mind freak out there, like flying signs and this and that, coming to your show, throwing stones at you, like type of thing, like because it was in the way that
well,
they
I
believed.
mean, you're talking about villages of people that have never even seen an electric guitar before in their lives. And
Yeah.
so it's it was, to them it was just shocking right off the bat to see something like that. And then on top of that, we're up there screaming and wearing the dark clothes. And at a point, it became tricky for us because I know the same thing happened with like metal musicians in Western countries in the 60s and the 70s. It was like there was a big rift between the religious element and
like
those
what?
guys, and they
Yeah.
called them devil worshippers and this and that. And it was the same kind of thing. It was like almost like going in a time machine over there, and they have the same
Wow.
concerns. Yeah,
So it's
yeah.
like back. So it's you guys were like the Ozzy Osbournes of Afghanistan.
I mean, I don't know if I would like
Yeah, like,
I wouldn't compare
but
myself to Ozzy, but
right. I don't like doing comparisons. I'm just saying like the actual root fact is that like you were challenging religious
totally,
structures by doing what
totally.
you love. That you guys weren't harming anybody, right?
Yeah, and my story is unique, man, because I didn't. I was not born in Afghanistan. I didn't grow up there. My family left Afghanistan in the 1970s or 80s. What up, Pinky? Pinky is also in Afreet, so that's
Oh yeah, that's what's
yeah,
up, dude.
as of about
Yeah.
a month ago. Um,
Hey,
but yeah, so
love me
like
some pink.
yeah, my family left and moved to America in like the late 1980s. So I didn't live through the war and the horror and the suffering of 1970 until, well, it's just still going on. It has never stopped. But really from like 1975 to probably 2001 when 9/11 happened, when everything changed. Right? So, but a lot of my friends over there, dude, they would tell me stories how they'd be like sitting in their living room or at their dining room, like eating dinner with their families, and fucking bullets start whizzing by, and they hit, and they use humor to cope with that kind of thing. My buddy just cracked up telling me a story of how they were sitting and eating, and a bullet came through the window and just like broke the salad bowl. They were like
Jeez,
laughing
dude.
about it because, like, what else
Yeah.
do you do?
Well,
But that's the horror that those people lived through, and I can't say that I've lived through that. I had a very good life, a comfortable life. Grandfather was a minister in Afghanistan, so we were privileged to be able to get out and live safe and comfortable lives. Um, but yeah, so that's a little bit. Just wanted to make that clear. Is that like that's not exactly my life path? Isn't the traditional like Afghan's life path that was born and raised there?
right. So you were raised out here first, or
I was born in Denver, Colorado.
oh, you're a native.
Yeah,
Hey,
yeah, I was
shout
born here,
out,
dude. I
303
lived
native.
right. Well, I don't think. Well, I don't think
Not that,
that.
not that
Yeah,
direction, but
you know
yeah,
what I mean.
I've,
That's a
I've,
whole subject in itself. Like, I don't think
yeah.
man has the authority to say this is my land and that's your land. I don't believe in that shit. I'm not an anarchist or anything like that, but I think it's silly that we've created all these borders. And
It really is, dude. Coming from my understandings, and even following the becoming the Red Road and stuff myself, and working with the Lakotas, and listening to some of my elders say the things like that. It's like we all understand what came before that, and it's nobody's land.
yeah,
It's the Pachamama. It's Gaia. The land is of us. We are of it, and we've got like they say when you plant a flower, you can either propagate it, pick it, and let it die, or you can feed the soil to let it grow. So, like, obviously the GOVs have said other things about that, and like, it's been a constant battle, and to reverse all of that would be a lot of work. So, like,
it
to
would. Yeah,
fight,
more
yeah,
than it's worth. At this point, I think it's more just adapting and being flexible.
yeah, and honoring the land with compassion and the roots of cultures and the ways that traditionally they are, and respecting them, and then doing what we do and we love and how we express, which goes back to you and the band Afreet, which was originally called what?
District Unknown.
District Unknown, and that's the band you were in Afghanistan.
Yep.
Okay, and they would throw rocks at you. People would throw rocks at you on stage. Why? Were they demonizing you because they thought your
Well,
music
yeah.
was?
Well, they thought we were devil worshippers. They thought we were Freemasons. They thought we were there to corrupt the youth. There was a news story that was published on national television that showed a picture of us all throwing up the horns, and the caption was, and the anchorman or whatever, fucking asshole of a guy. Afghanistan's kind of a small world. Like, everybody knows each other. Like, we know that dude, at some point down the line. So there's a connection, and he had it out for us. But he did a
Yeah.
whole segment on national TV how we were devil worshippers and we were going to corrupt their children. And that's really when our problems big time got started.
You know what's funny about that is I was just at a birthday party today for just a pleasurable time for Luce, and there was a bunch of kids there, and someone watching here right now, her husband plays in a local Denver, Colorado ska band, like punk ska band, and we had a good conversation. If you want to drop, she's actually watching. If she, what's up? She says hi. If you want to
Yo, hey,
drop, if you want to drop his YouTube and stuff, they're on tour right now. That'd be cool. But there
hell
was
yeah.
their kids are like they look like us right now. Like long hair, black shirts. Like they're little punk rockers in the making or whatever you want to
Right.
say. And like and we were having an ethereal time at the river in Golden, just like working with stones out of the river and charging them with blessings, and it was a lovely peaceful time. But the image of that someone may project just because someone's wearing the color black or has long hair or is into this kind of music or that kind of music, I see that it's like they can be outcasted or diminished or alienated, misfitted, demonized. And this was the same type, like this, you possibly speaking to the kids of America at this moment, but and to whoever's tuning in throughout the world. But you're talking about being that kid, that inner child, no matter how old you were when you were in the original band in Afghanistan, dude,
My early 20s.
early 20s, but your inner
Yeah.
child, how did your 9-year-old inner child feel when those rocks, like, were you scared? Like
Bro,
I
honestly, I had such a rush of adrenaline there, and you're doing. I mean, in a lot of ways, I was in dangerous situations there, but I'm like so grateful because they, number one, make for great stories, and number two, like I had the chance to be a part of something groundbreaking, something new, something that no one had ever done before. And so I have nothing but gratitude. In the moment, dude, I was just bobbing and weaving. I was like, I'm gonna try to be a badass here and just keep playing play my guitar and just dodge the stones. That's what I did. Like we had to pack it up real quick after. I'm talking within 60 seconds because it
wow,
was getting
gone in
dangerous.
60 seconds for real,
Dude, I
bro.
mean, we're on the back of a semi truck, like with the one face of it, one side of it open, and we're just playing. We're just rolling through these villages and these towns in Mazar, and these people are just like they're shocked. They don't know what's going on. They're like, but to me, that was important to do because it just showed somebody something they'd never seen and like exposed them to that. Yeah, it was all adrenaline. It was pure like there's something rebellious about it for sure. Something like, oh, you're not supposed to be doing this, and you're doing it anyway.
Oh right,
Uh,
like when you throw the. I mean, I played in bands when I was younger too, and like just not to that degree where I'm getting stoned in Afghanistan, like
yep.
for religious reasons and this and that. And you know, they obviously justified and righteously felt they were right to throw a stone, which it's I love that because it gives us this fact to raise awareness and talk about this. But like obviously like knowing some of your regresso, your return to Colorado,
Mm-hmm.
there was a lot of deconditioning and maybe trauma reconditioning or relearning and unconditioning within like all of that must have taken place. Like, cause I don't, am I in the right lane there?
I mean, life's a journey, dude. Like, I would say when you go and live in a war torn nation that's unstable, I mean, we would wake up some mornings and it's like, oh, there's a gunfight on such and such intersection. So you just avoid it on your way to commute to work or something. You just go around, take another route. And those things become normal, right? The sounds of bombs going off, suicide bombs happening, like it just
Wow.
becomes a normal part of life. And so, um, when I left Afghanistan, we had to leave Afghanistan because it was just getting really dangerous in terms of the band and the individual members. We had been identified. People had started to know where we lived. People had, it was getting bad. And there's a network of organized like Taliban and religious conservatives and that kind of thing, and they were pretty much onto us. So when I came back,
Oh
there was.
man.
You look at things differently, man. I'm sure you felt this when you went to Mexico too, and when you came back to the States. It's like you don't look at stuff the same.
No, no,
You
not at
see
all.
a lot of complexity in very mundane things that we do here. And there's a lot to be grateful to. for as well here, and you it puts it in perspective. Like, dude, I mean, I know a lot of people, like, there's all the politics and shit going on right now in America. It's like a tough time to even talk about a lot of stuff, but it just makes me laugh sometimes. I'm like, you people have no idea what real problems are. You're fucking bored. Like, you have no idea what it means to step outside and maybe get shot. Maybe you don't.
Yeah.
Maybe you get to have dinner. Maybe you don't. Maybe your mom comes home, your dad comes home from work. Maybe he doesn't. You know, like that kind
Oh
of
gosh,
experience.
like imagine that, dude. Like the duality of things. Like, hey, like speaking to the young generations of punk rockers, metalheads coming up these days, the 16, 15-year olds, whatever, like they are, like that's like something that can only be understood maybe if you're in the hood and in like in a gang or just living there in
For sure.
general. But like, set aside that, you're talking about a highly like fucking geniuses, dude. The Taliban, they're geniuses. Like, you're putting together an organization like that in the dark, the dark side of life, light side of life. To them, they think they're doing something good, and so do you. The Quran, like a beautiful, gorgeous book, it does a lot of good, just like the Bible. But all books do also stem a lot of wars, stem a lot of things that are negative impacts within the duality of it all. But here we are, both people loving what they're doing. You know that guy must have loved throwing stones at y'all's metal band.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's like I don't blame those people, man. I don't. Like, it took me years to kind of come to terms with the fact that what we were doing out there, it just wasn't for them. And my dad used to tell me, I never understood it because he was living out there when I was out there as well. And he'd be like, "You're wasting your time. They're never going to hear what you have to say. They don't like it. They don't want it." And, you know, me being a young kid, I was like, whatever, like they're going to get it eventually. But it's like, as an adult, you realize, like, yeah, they weren't ready for this, dude. We tried to like fast forward the tape for them like 70 years, and
Wow.
it was not appropriate. They weren't ready for it. But I mean, I'll also be careful, like in this interview, like this isn't us versus the religious people type of
No,
situation.
no, no, no,
And the
not at
Taliban
all.
themselves, the Taliban, they have a complicated history. They have a complicated past, a complicated present, and a pretty complicated future too. And it's not clear to me actually that them being in power is a bad thing right now. I know that's controversial. There's a lot to unpack in that, and we can if the conversation goes in that direction. But
I mean,
like, it's like, dude,
you
I understood eventually why people were so upset at what we were doing, and I accepted that later on, and I embraced it. I was like, I get it, man. At the same time, like, the rebel in me is like, I don't give a shit. I'm still gonna do it, but I get it, man. I don't demonize those people. I don't, like, I'm not angry at them. I'm not carrying any resentment in my heart for the
that's
way that
good.
they received
Yeah.
us. You know,
Yeah,
they
that's
were just
very
doing what they knew.
right.
They responded to the way that they responded the way that they did because that's what they knew how to do. That's all they knew.
Right, and you obviously are a multiverse musician and producer, and I don't know if I heard the lyrics right because some of like the scream stuff you can't really hear. But your new song that you released with your other band, Mother of Exile,
Yeah.
at the start it says something like a spiritual shifter. What was the lyric at the start?
It's 3 a.m. and I'm pulled from my sleep. I saw you there as if a ghost in a dream, fleeting within as your spirit grows dim, the beating of hearts as your voice grows thin. This song is about Brandon's childhood best friend, Dusty, who overdosed on heroin in 2017 and died.
Oh,
And it's his
oh,
attempt to gain closure with that situation. It's his attempt to reconcile what he never really closed that emotionally
I
when it
get
happened.
that.
And so that song it's for Dusty. It's dedicated to Dusty's family, his legacy, his just everything to honor who he is and the life that he lived.
Right, so
Left
you
behind a beautiful family. So just to honor that, you know.
well, we honor, bro. I get that because I left behind one ex band member of mine when in Texas and never had closure, dude. I totally feel that. That's beautiful. That's probably why I received it like a spiritual shift for him to be able to like alchemize that with y'all and that project. But back to Afreet, um, y'all are currently working on and are the members, are you guys working through like a Dropbox from Afghanistan to here and there?
Yeah. This is something that we started to do with District Unknown as far back as 2013, and it worked pretty well. We would just bounce files back and forth over the internet, and there's some limitations, of course. It's nice to be able to be in a room with your band, but I mean, when District Unknown left Afghanistan, like I was here. My ex bass player, he was in Denver with me. My drummer was in Michigan. My vocalist was in the United Kingdom. It was like we were all over the fucking world, you know. So that was the only choice we had. Like when everybody left and the shit hit the fan over there, like you didn't have a choice. You just had to get the fuck out wherever it was, you know.
Yeah,
some of my
man.
friends, dude, they left on like the back of a fucking in a boat, some dinghy that they sailed across. What is it, the Mediterranean Sea or wherever it is, to get to Europe.
Not the
One
Dead
of my
Sea,
homies,
the
dude, like he literally
Mediterranean.
he left in the trunk of a Toyota Corolla while they were getting shot at by like Taliban and all kinds of village like people.
Whoa.
And there's like bullet holes in the trunk, and he's just in there in a fetal position, like praying, wishing for his life. And I'm so glad that he's alive, man. A lot of my friends didn't have the same kind of luck when all that happened, but it was. You seen the video of? I think there's a piece of it in our music video for My Land Is Breaking, but there's like the last few airplanes that are leaving the country, and people are just holding onto the airplane. A lot of them just fall to their deaths. It's fucking sad.
I was in the studio and you showed me. I didn't know that part about you. Like it's very sacred to you. Like thank you for opening up that day. And like I like started tearing up when I watched that video, bro. It was like it's so well produced, but so real and actually real to you. And man, like we all sat there. I can speak for myself, but that shocked me, made me tear up for you. Set aside it. Isn't there someone else that you may have lost through this process?
Well, I lost a lot of people, bro. I mean, you're talking about the collapse of a nation, and all my friends, dude. I didn't make friends with the most traditional conservative people out there. They were all outcasts. They were exiles like me, so they faced a shitty fate. And besides that, dude, I lost a couple of friends out there to just drugs and you know, they have an opium crisis there. Their national export has been opium, poppy seeds, poppy plants for decades. That's how they make money there, because it's an illegal clandestine activity, and you got some farmer that's just trying to feed his family, and that's the only way he knows how to do it. Yeah, I mean, loss to me, you'll notice this theme. You brought up the mother track, right? When you talk about My Land, like I'm not really interested in making music nowadays unless it's deep and hits hard, and it's a therapy for myself, for those around me, and my deep desire is to connect with people. That's why I'm here on this earth, is to connect.
Dude, I'm right there with you. Like connection is everything. Doesn't matter if people can connect. That's my
you can't just live for yourself, dude. I think too many of us do that now. There's no purpose in hedonism and just living for yourself and consuming. That like you'll just end up miserable your whole life. You know, you can trick yourself as much as you want with the pleasures of modern life. It's just not going to do anything for you when you're on your deathbed.
Christina De Sanchez, the one with she's married to the ska punk band member. She said music heals. That brought up correct, but this brought up a huge subject for me, because I'm not going to mention who it was because I don't want to like put people out there like that. But a person really close to me, this person was, I would play like songs like not even that hard and heavy, like Deftones or like or not even AFI, or just like even like this stuff like alternative, not even Gorgia, like your shirt, like that played for the Olympics, you know, like not even that heavy. They're like, and and this person's like very spiritual and intuitive and light and into all the love and light stuff. And she's like, why do you play this stuff? It reminds me of my dad's basement where everybody's screaming. And I'm like, what are you talking about? This is beautiful. Like, to me, I listen to metal when I listen to it when it feels right. It's not everyday basis. But like, when you scream, there's like I was told to go outside through a workshop and a meditation on one of these podcasts the other night to go howl at the moon. If you need to scream, let it go. And this is a very intuitive, grounded, supernatural woman. And I did that. And when I howled at the moon the other night, the full moon, it set aside like alone and dang near scream. It felt healing, bro. So like what Christina just said, I'll pop it back up. Music heals. It doesn't matter what type of music it is. Like there's a healing element to screaming. We can talk about that in your perspective if you want. I want to ask you about that perspective. We all know the love in the punk rock community with the mosh pits. If someone falls you or middle, you pick them back up and say, "You're good, brother. You okay? You good? Let's keep going. Let's keep going. We're creating energy." But what is the element behind screaming that like heals you so much? Is it this trauma, this pain, this PTSD that you experience? Like, what is the desire to want to scream on a track? Like, for the
I think it's more or less that the human condition is a lot of emotions,
right?
Different emotions. As I hear somebody in the basement screaming right now. I'm over in Greeley right now at Prosmia's band practice, actually.
Hey, shout out to Prosmia. I got to hear it last week.
They're downstairs right now playing Unseen Scars. Nice. But yeah, so the human condition, and this is something I actually am really interested in because I think that modern people and modern society has made it almost taboo to feel emotions, which like anxiety, like depression, like joy and sorrow. And I'm not saying those things don't exist. I think there is a clinical basis for certain cases, but in the vast majority of cases, I would say that it's normal. It's normal to be angry sometimes. It's normal to be sad, really sad. And I think there's a lot more expected out of us in modern time than there were out of our ancestors that just foraged for their food, ran down their food. They woke up with the dawn. They went to bed with the dusk. And that was just their life. It was a simpler time, a beautiful time. And we're so far removed from that and from our roots that you're seeing all these strange ailments crop up. But in terms of, to answer your question, human beings have a need to, there's an old adage about a percolator. You know what a percolator is? It's like an old school coffee pot that works on steam pressure.
Right. Okay.
And what the percolator effect is like when you don't let the steam out, that can explode and it can hurt you real bad. It's not funny. It's kind of funny, but it isn't. How in Afghanistan they used old school pressure cookers from like these are made of metal and there's no safety mechanism or whatever. You just screw it down and they cook like lamb and meats and all kinds of different stuff in there. But there have been many cases where one of those exploded in the kitchen and killed somebody. You know.
Wow. So that's where that phrase comes in. Like there's these.
Yeah. So it's like you have to at some point, like you can internalize as much as you want. Let's say you you wake up late, right? Let's say you're like on time every single day to your day job or whatever it is that you do, right? But then one day you wake up late and you start getting pissed off because you're late and then you're rushing to get ready and that's making you more stressed. And then you get on the road, there's traffic. That's making you more stressed out. And then you go to your job and then your boss yells at you and it makes you more pissed off because you're on time every single day. And the one day that you're not, you get yelled at, right? And then you get your lunch hour and you forgot to pack a lunch because you were late. So you get more pissed. And by the end of the day, you get home, if you don't let that out, if you don't go howl at the moon or go scream at the top of your lungs somewhere, that can manifest itself in a really ugly, really dangerous way, and you're going to explode on somebody else that doesn't deserve it.
Yeah, Claro.
And that's the percolator effect, man. I think what screaming or moshing or even some of these fucking kung fu like mosh pits, I see people just beat the shit out of each other. Like, I think that started with the Pantera shows, where you would go to a Pantera show and like you couldn't, if you didn't come out with a bloody nose or broken tooth or something, like you weren't doing it right. You know,
Yeah. Those days, old school days.
That's a release. It's a form of expression, and I think what it is like with the heavier side of music, it's therapeutic and relieving for a different type of energy, a different type of emotion. It's something that you don't normally get to do. Like you can explore your joy, you can explore your freedom, but you should also explore your darkness, your suffering, and your pain. Yes. You should also live in that. You should embrace it. Like it's easy to be afraid of it and just suppress it, but I think that's where heavy music really comes from, is that innate courage to explore something that normally people just don't want to feel because it's uncomfortable, it's painful.
Right, and y'all express it through music, and a lot of like it's funny because on the reverse effect, you look at other things like different types of music are expressed different. It's just that's person's frequency. Maybe they haven't felt this pain in this type of way, but everything's beautiful and perfect in its own way, and like it's like there's always a time for everything when it comes musically. But set aside the music, it stems a lot of traumatic response, like to things, and like so like for me, I've learned from my Dharma punk mentor, like, you know, like when you go to a show, like you're taking on people as just a witness, as an experiencer, like just want to have a good time. You're experiencing these people's, the band is too also re-alchemizing and re-experiencing these wounds and traumas, and or they become new because you were yelled at by your boss or this person in traffic today. So that song is being played, and the same lyric may feel some type of different way each time it's played. It's that, and it so that's like goes back to what John Lennon, this back in the day, you know, before he was shot. Like this weirdo like hippie comes up to him and it was like, "Hey man, like he made this fucking just out of nowhere, like, hey John, like I heard this song and it like meant this to me, and it made me want to do this." And then John's like sitting there, like it's all on video, and he's like, "There's just a lyric, my brother. Come in, and you want some food and water and coffee? We'll feed you." And like George Harrison's there and stuff, and I guess they're in the middle of recording somewhere in England, but he was trying to explain how like it's just a lyric, just a word, brother. It's just a lyric. Sometimes you just put it in there because it makes sense at the time, and then you know, and then like down the road it may mean something else. Like that goes into the roots of attachments to people, and it set aside the fact that he did get shot in New York reading, what was it, To Kill a Mockingbird. Who knows why that guy did that, but it could have been because of many reasons, and I don't like to make assumptions. But I've dealt with the attachments in music with my entire life, like whether it be through rap culture, like listening to Korn in middle school because I lived in Bakersfield. You know, I was like, oh yeah, I could totally relate to Philly, bro. Like I did all the things he did, like you know, like so you almost like embody this idea or this image of that I am just the same as him, but in my own ways, and it's like a false persona or ego that I create for myself. And it's a very creative attachment that can also delusionize me and make me lie to myself and think I'm something I'm not, which have led me down dark paths.
Right.
Right, and you get that. And that led me into addictions. And you mentioned there was a lot of people that root from your band lineage and all that did, like you said recently, that that song was about a guy that overdosed from heroin. So like raising awareness to that, like words have power, man. No matter what language it is, no matter how it's said, but if it's screamed, if it's said softly, like if I say "f you" softly, it's still an "f you." If I screamed it at you, it's still an "f you." You know what I mean? It's like how it's received. And how do I choose
Context.
to, yeah, the context, it's conceptualized. How do I receive that? And we're kind of just freestyling here. So like I really love that aspect of freestyling because like you know I've jammed with you and like it kind of feels like we're jamming with our this like little podcast style episode thing.
Yeah.
So Afreet is back alive. Like y'all's band is back alive, like back running again.
Yeah, I mean, we started. Yeah, go ahead. Yeah.
Oh yeah, okay. So like, y'all went through the trenches, like went through the mud, dodged the physical stones, the threats in your own mind, like talking about the delusions I created in my mind, just like relating to lyrics. Like imagine, I'm just imagining like the trauma, like that you have created, the people in that band have created when it was active in Afghanistan, like the imaginary people that may or may not be following you at the time just because you love playing metal music.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, dude, like it felt like maybe we were being paranoid until the moment that my vocalist got thrown in prison, and then it was like, okay, this is the real deal. You know, I mean, we
And
were at house arrest for like a month. None of us left our houses. We wouldn't
that's
go.
not cool. That's not cool, dude. No one wants to go through that. Like I've been locked up. I've been in all those situations and like that can relate in those energies and like and it's like no one wants to go through that. But what? So why did they lock him up? It wasn't he was it
For playing metal, dude. For
for
playing metal.
playing? That's what I'm
Yeah.
saying.
Well,
Like
I mean, you get up on stage, and word got around in Mazar, where his family's from. We had played the Truck Fest there, and word started going around like wildfire that, and everybody knows each other there. You know, everybody's family knows each other. They knew exactly where he lived. They knew
small
what his
town
dad did
vibes.
for work. Yeah, yeah. And there's a lot of people there, but they still like they don't spend a lot of time on Facebook and Instagram and shit out there. So like they know each other. You know, they have social relationships and their social power hierarchies in the society. But
That's the beauty in it. That's the beauty in it right there. I can see that part of it. So
well,
like now,
everything's cool, right? Everything can be abused, and
yeah.
in his case, like, yeah, they showed up at his house. They took him, and who shows up? The religious police,
Mm.
not like regular cops. This is the local mullah
What?
or from the local mosque, and they're like, we got to take you. You're doing this devil worshiping thing, and like it's not allowed. It's not acceptable in our society. So they took him by force, threw him in prison, and he must have been in there for at least a month or two, just wondering like when the
What?
fuck he's gonna get out. Yeah.
I can't even imagine, dude. Like you're over here singing songs about, or singing or screaming or playing or however you describe it, like rocking out, thrashing songs about healing yourself through someone that passed away of a drug addiction, and then in some degree this relates that, and then you get thrown in prison for showing honor and respect to someone that left their family behind, left this and that trauma behind, that it stems and lineages of ripple effects, and y'all's music was there to heal that wave, dude, and he gets thrown
Yeah.
in prison. Like what? I didn't even know there was a religious police like out there. And that's wild. That's this goes back to like what is going on in the world today, man. Like a guy can't even pick up a guitar and play a song about his friend that passed away or whatever makes him heal to become a better person. Knowing you, that the genuine person that you actually are, Sully, because I know you personally, like you're a very genuine person. When I was in Mexico, I posted all this, where everything is on Facebook ain't always as it seems. Like I posted a lot of beautiful bonita, like out of the world stuff, and like it's like I was having the best time. I was having the best time of my life, but the in betweens there were some really tough times, Of
Yeah.
course I didn't, you know, and you accidentally butt dialed me on
The whole band, yeah, the whole band.
in the old band chat with you know I don't play with anymore with Screaming Genevieve, which is now Prosmia. And you put down me in the old band chat. I was like, oh, what Sully, dude? It was it was like the perfect timing, like the universe or whatever. It just said Sully's butt's gonna dial me right now, and everybody in the band's pretty much dang near gonna join for the next 4 hours and help me out because I was going through my head creating those delusions, dude. Those like attachments of like, what am I doing? Like, why am I here? And then like almost going into an insanity, like where the repeating thoughts over and over again, like, and your butt dial allowed me to take it out. There was one point where Pinky was at the treadmill, and then he'd jump off, drive home. He's like, "You guys are still on here," and then you jump off, and then she would jump on, and then it was like that was one of those things you say like, does everything happen for a reason? Is it synchronous or like it did. I needed y'all at that point. Especially you asked me a few questions like, what's your main, you told me once you saw what I was going through, I was kind of lost in Mexico at a point in time, and like, what am I doing with my life? Why am I even down here still? Why did I cancel my plane ticket? I'm supposed to be playing bass on Halloween, but I handed my position over, and it's the perfect swap. She fills it in like oh, she kills it. But anyway, so I'm sitting there like beating myself up, guilt, shame, all this, and you guys pulled me out of it. And you asked me this, you told me this, I had the Beyond Your Impossible book, and you're like, I want you to write down these 3 questions. I still don't know if I can answer them like purely properly. I'm close, like, but what are your main 3 desires in life?
Yeah, and for me, that's from. We can only speak from sometimes like an anecdotal experience, and for me, that's what that was. It's like, dude, I felt lost my whole entire life until I asked and answered seriously the question of like, why the fuck am I on this planet? What is the purpose of me being here? And for me, it wasn't enough to have some vague things of why I'm here. For me, it was like I have to answer that question specifically, and I had to commit to a lifetime and honoring that purpose. And people do change over time. They want different things, and your purpose may shift and align to something else. You can't really control that, but what you can do is control how much you're honoring your purpose and your alignment. And for me, that saved my life, dude, because I was like pretty miserable and depressed when I had just turned 30 years old. I was still working on music and art. Like I've been writing music since I was a young child, and I never stopped doing that. But I didn't see the points in it other than to just put it out, and then my ego being like, oh, I like this. Well, it's like at a point you realize like that can't be it. That can't be it. Like there has to be something else. And for me, that was finding my purpose. I'm here to make music, relate and connect with others to help with their trauma, their healing journey, whatever it is. Or for somebody to just put some song on, much like my predecessors had done for me, and just be like, this is how I feel today. This is hitting the spot. This is helping me. This is therapeutic to me. This is making me like somebody fucking gets it. Somebody understands how I feel today. You know, and to me, like that is sacred. It's divine, and it's full alignment. Like if I can do that even for one person, which is why I struggle watching My Land is Breaking, as you probably knew. Like when I put it on in my studio, I didn't want to play it.
Yeah, I
remember that. I don't like hearing it. You have to understand that song was written at a time when a bunch of my friends were getting killed. I had COVID. The government of Afghanistan was collapsing 8,000 miles from where I was. I couldn't do shit about it other than check on my family, my friends, and say, hey, are you alive? Are you okay? Where are you? And so like that represents a deep cut for me, that song. And
I know, brother.
Yeah. So, but for me, it's like seeing the outpouring afterwards, and we just put out this thing, and it came from a place of rage, dude. Like, I'm not going to say it was the most technically sound song. There are mixed issues. There are probably issues with the writing, but in terms of the energy and the intention, it's as raw as it fucking gets, dude. It's as raw as it gets. It was purely like I probably did significant damage to my vocal cords screaming on that. I was screaming at the top of my lungs. No technique, nothing, just pure energy, raw emotion. I was coughing up blood and shit. Like, it was fucked. And I had COVID while I was recording it. Like, I had a respiratory illness, and I thought I might maybe was gonna die or something. I didn't.
We didn't know back then, like, you know. Wow. Like,
So
when
that's where that comes from. And to me, once I saw that a couple people connected with it, and then more people connected, and they were just gripped by the story, and it exercised some kind of demon for them, I was like, this is fucking worth it. This is where I want to be for the rest of my life, is making shit that eases people's pain by putting them into the pain, pushing them into the pain to embrace.
It's like almost like the law of attraction applied to it too, because like it's like, so like a song comes on the radio and you're just like, it doesn't matter what, you just vibe with it. If they're screaming at this frequency and it's a certain yo, dude, are you alright? Are you okay?
This piano bench just broke.
No, you need to put your leg
We're
on
good.
I'm so glad you're okay.
Sorry. Anyway,
so I don't know what happened there. That chair needs your leg. Realism. So something like that. So when someone's your song comes on the radio, whatever, and someone puts something on or through whatever platform, and you just vibe with it, you just feel it, you're just rocking with it, you ride with it, you roll with it, and you don't know why. It doesn't matter what they're saying. Like, that's the law of attraction 101. It's like, and so there may be some stuff that like you put out, which people don't know why they love it so much, or they like it so much, or they just want to keep playing that song. There's a song when Loveland fires were burning in Colorado around the studio we were working in, and then people that we know, families, especially you personally, like there was a song that I just played over and over again that day when we left that studio. I had it on repeat, and I don't do that like much. And it was like I can't remember. It's by I can't remember who it was by, but it just said, "Find another way out, find another way out, find another." It kept saying that over and over again. It was very smooth, disreal or something like that. Some kind of I posted it, used it with one of the Gaia Gang videos, and that night when I found the fires going on, it just kept playing that song, and it didn't matter what they're saying until I figured out what they're saying, and I was like, well, I don't know why I must find another way out really hit me, and I didn't know what it was. Like, what am I trying to find another way out of? My escape? Is it something within? There's something I avoid that hasn't been looked at yet. And like you said, our darkness and pain, our suffering is important. Like, there was something that I needed to look at, and then I left for Mexico and saw it, and it was many things, and whether I was running from myself, running from opportunities, running from responsibilities, running from just crucial aspects of emotional work that needed to be healed in the darkness, and accepted and loved and watered and alchemized into a whole, into light. So there is no duality in between the things like the yin and yang, right? So yeah, you talked about that a little bit, and like, so like, was there some process that you did, like a special process that you did that maybe like helped you like relieve those traumas of reconditioning yourself, coming back to Colorado with Afreet in your mind, or who it used the original band back in Afghanistan, with those memories may or may not have been haunting you, right?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know, man. Like, you take the bad with the good. So I have fond memories of Afghanistan in addition to the violent like memories. of times that I didn't really want to live through again. Um, you know, there was like the moment there was a suicide bomb that gone off across the street from our house, and you get home to that. My poor dog, who just passed on like about a month or two ago.
Oh yeah.
She was, and this is a badass, tough dog, man. She was a guard dog, like she was tough as nails, you know. And she's just like hiding under the bed, and all the windows are blown out, all the doors are blown off their hinges. It's just absolute chaos on that whole street, shattered glass everywhere.
Oh,
And so, like,
man.
again, like you grow desensitized to a lot of this stuff when it happens enough times. You're like, okay, whatever. You're just trying to survive. You're trying to live, and it's strange to me how human beings adapt that way to circumstances. Like things just get crazy, and you just become okay with it. And I think that that's a curse and a blessing. I think it's a survival mechanism, it's a coping mechanism. But I also wouldn't trade it away for the world, the chance to live there and be amongst the people of my homeland, my ancestors, where they lived, where generations and generations of people before me. I was born to two Afghan parents, and we can trace our tribal lineage back really very far to like tribe, you know, sub tribe, super tribe. Like I have it all mapped out. A good friend of mine, his dad, like mapped that all out for us. So, I mean, yeah, man. I mean, it's like I didn't come back with just trauma, is what I'm trying to say. Like I came back with good memories too. And so you
Yeah.
have to weigh that against, like you talked about yin and yang earlier and balance. This is something I think Eastern cultures have really got right. Is
Nice.
that there is balance in all things. And even if you live an unbalanced life, eventually the universe will balance you. It'll correct you. It'll cut you down.
Yeah. Yeah.
So you can't run away from balance.
That Johnny Cash song, God's gonna cut you down.
Sooner or later, it's gonna cut you down.
Yeah.
Great song. Great song.
Great song.
But yeah, I mean, like, there's an element of suppression, though, for sure. When you have some shit go down in your life, like, there's an element of, I don't want to think about this. And then what happens is at some point you have to address that. And for me, I'm really lucky, bro, because I found music from a very young age. I've been a creator from a very young age. I've been a music maker. I've been writing songs since I was like 6 years old.
That's that part.
Yeah.
That's wild because you if you remember me trying to like frantically find the card, but like I pulled one of those circle archetype cards, that and I wanted to pull one for you because I connect with nature and stuff doing it like that. And since it's been a full moon and we're decompressing, and I pulled the creator and I can't find the card for the life of me, but like I didn't even read the archetype book. I was like, it would be the creator. Like you can't make this stuff up, dude. Like I just pulled it and I was like, I'm not even reading this. Like I already know you are a creator of many forms, spiritually, physically, musically, artistically, passionately, and just woven in existence as you are, and we all have our own perspectives and perceptuals about things, and the way you flow with this in existence, I've noticed, is very smooth compared to how you express yourself musically. Like you're a very genuine person. Back to that, you're like, you want me to make you some of this Afghan coffee? And we're sitting there.
Turkish coffee.
Turkish coffee. Okay, that's what it was. And like I've never tried this. Like you're percolating stuff up into a tiny little like this stuff was like the most primo freaking coffee on the planet. Like it's almost dang near impossible to get, and it gotta be top dollar. But like I set aside the money. It was like the aspect that like you sat us all down and you were like made that for us. Like that's very genuine, dude. And we had a beautiful conversation many of those nights of when you used to live out this way, and then one time out by your family spot and in the studio or whatever, and you touched on the ancestry of Afghanistan and stuff. And when I stepped into your studio, you had some of your dad's art, dude, and your father's freaking art it just like I was just my jaw dropped. I could feel it. I didn't even want to describe it or try to analyze it. I probably did it and horrifically like messed it up, but knowing myself. But like I was just like I didn't know what I was stepping into that day. I was like whose art is this?
Yeah.
Like, yeah, that's my dad. It's my dad's. I'm like, why isn't it in the freaking National Museum? Like, what is going on here, dude? Like,
yeah, my dad's a creator. My dad's a creator as well, and I come from a long lineage of like rebels, first off, and creators. I mean, like my grandfather was assassinated by the KGB because he couldn't keep his mouth shut about how much he hated communists.
What's the KGB?
The Russian KGB. That's the Russian like secret police during the Cold War. Yeah, he was very anti-communist, and he got tortured in a prison called Polcharki in Afghanistan, and which just he got the Medal of Honor from Reagan. He's like one of those guys. He was just very rebellious. He wanted to speak out, and he got killed for it. And that kind of thing passed down to my dad too. He's, my dad's got a doctorate, a couple masters. Like he's an extremely educated guy. When he came to this country, he didn't speak a word of English, and he didn't have any money, and he was just working in a cab, like trying to pay for his family to have food on the table, and so that he could study his postgraduate stuff, like in his taxi cab while he was working. And the first thing he did, dude, is he organized the strike for Yellow Cab. He got all the cab drivers together and was like, "We're not going to work anymore. We got to get paid more."
Hey, so this is what your organization skills.
Oh yeah,
yeah.
He's like, wow. He's like an organizer. He's a rebel. Like he's a question everything type of guy. Question authority. Question the system. And he had to sign a piece of paper after the strike was over. He did get more money for the workers, but he could never work for them again. They didn't want to see his ass ever again. So
I mean, he served his purpose and people got paid. So that's an honorable action. So he had to be a martyr for that, right? Considering the time.
Yeah, but he's like, that's what I'm saying. Is like for my dad, it's always been like his purpose was always much bigger than he was. He didn't really care about what he was getting out of life. He just wanted others around him to be better and to succeed. And since then, he's devoted his whole life to philanthropy and educating people. And he's also a creative person in his spare time. He's the guy that would leave the piano in my room when he got bored with it. He never pushed me into music. I think one time they tried to get me to take like violin lessons, but I was so impatient. I broke the bow on the first day because I just didn't want to sit there and learn like chords and scales and shit. I was like, fuck that, I'm just gonna play this shit. And so that didn't work out. But he's always been enthusiastic about music. He taught me how to play guitar. He would buy so many instruments for himself. He was like really, really all about it. Like so many people, like you and me, we got a lot of instruments and things. We just collect them. It's like kind of a habit, and he would get bored with something. He would just put it in my room, put it in my bedroom. I'd be bored and I'd be like, oh, I wonder how this works, and I'd like try to figure it out and shit. That's what, I get a lot of my creative bone from him, and also on my mom's side, like I have professional musicians on my mom's side of the family that do it still to this day for a living in France.
That's actually a very good insight on people who maybe have mothers or fathers listening or on the replays or whatever. That a lot of people try and force their kids to be like this way. So why don't you just leave a piano or a guitar or like a violin?
You gotta let your kid, man. I have a lot of friends. I have a lot of friends that were pushed into music, and they're very good. They know all the theory, they know the performance, they're just really good. And usually it's with classic instruments, because classical instruments require a lot of discipline and structure and routine, and it takes years and years of practice to get it really good at something like the piano or the violin or classical instruments like that. Classical guitar is another example. But with them, they grew to be miserable. They grew a resentment for their instrument. They didn't want to play it. They were so good at it too. They were so good at that instrument, and they just didn't want to play it anymore because it had been forced on them. To them, it didn't represent play. And the operative word in music is play. You play guitar, you play music, you play the piano, the trumpet, you know? And so there's an element of childlike curiosity that has to be involved with that. And so I think the best way to do it is just like, and for me, it was like environment too. I had seen other people around me playing instruments, so I've just figured that's what you do. You just play guitar. That's what human beings do. My dad played guitar, and we had family
Yeah.
hangouts and stuff, and they would just play instruments. And so for me, that was very normal. But it's like it was never forced on me. It was never pushed on me, and that's how I grew a genuine love for it. Like, you don't push shit on your kids if you want them to actually want to explore it later in their life.
Right. It doesn't even have this root cause here. Doesn't even have to be with music. It's like say you want to like test your kid's intuition out, or and inspire them, or see what their desire is. Like leave them a book on biology. Leave them a guitar, a microscope, maybe a some kind of spiritual kids book or something, or like
Yeah, you give them the option, dude. You don't
but
want to
don't.
dominate their free will. Like
Yeah,
let them choose.
let
And
it and watch them. You know, they let them play. Like here you go, Lucia just popped on. I love it. She said, "Wow, that resonated so differently." Play. It
hey,
did for me
Lucia.
too. It did for
Yeah,
like
yeah.
for real. Shout out to Lucia. That's what's up. Happy birthday, by the way, to Lucia.
Happy birthday.
We were just at the with a bunch of the kids I was talking about that were there, the long haired kids with the rock and roll parents from the ska band. I don't know
Yeah.
why she's still on there, but I was trying to take it off. Hey, yeah, okay. Well, yeah. So, uh, that's beautiful that she popped in, and I got to experience that lightness of like seeing like the inner child in me with those kids today, and and like what we were talking about, how we were she was like giving stones out the water, and just seeing what like these kids would do, like what is it stone, or do they even want to meditate with this stone, and what is it, like we were talking about the grandfather stone with Lakota Doug Goodfellow the other night, like what do you see in the stone, and just like the curiosity of a kid just to the play and in their mind of like what they see in the stone, and then like it brings it out in us. And like I saw that, I was like one of the kids was like, I see a skeleton, and then she was like, well for me first I heard it first, and I was like, well, what does that mean to you? It's like, I think someone died in this stone. And I was like, whoa. So like that's grandfather to me, that's like grandfather speaking the ancestry, because like we all are of the earth. And then whatever Lucia did after that was it was so close to freaking the most graceful thing said about the stone. I couldn't get it that close. It was just beauty. All these kids took the stones home, and they were like, all right, they figured out, I want to wrap it in red, and put these ties around it, because this is a sacred stone to me, and anytime that this stone holds a power, and I can play with this stone. Like one of the kids is actually a musician, and I was like, I was telling him like, look at the red crane, that means this. Look at that guy's red shirt, that means the red is everywhere, huh? And he's like, yeah, and he's like, he actually plays guitar, and I was like, so when you get home and if you do this stone, like anytime when you pick up the guitar and you can't play, it's like, remember that stone and pick it up, and is that, I don't know, it might just make you shred out of nowhere. It's like that's the power of just like believing in something unseen. It's funny that you said the band below you, prods me. I was wearing the shirt for them. In the basement over there was playing Unseen Scars, and so inside those stones can be many unseen scars of ancestral energy and or personal connection, however each individual sees, whether it's me or a child. And yeah, so that, thank you for saying that. I love that play, Sully, dude. Like, because we're not just playing the guitar like it's like an action, like I'm playing, like we're playing like a childlike state, like it's just like we're having fun, we're enjoying this, like however it comes out, and like you know um that's a great perspective within one almost. So just imagining, like that goes back to me imagining like you in Afghanistan in the original band before that, it's now Afreet,
Mhm.
uh just that inner child playing. Like of course it made you rebellious when they're throwing stones at you. The actual like guys, like these
Yeah,
guys are
we do,
bad.
we do stones a little differently over there, but
These guys are the devil. We're gonna stone them. You know, and that goes into many religious parts. It's not just that area. Like that, you know, it's in the Bible. It's in these. You know, like Jesus was stoned. Like all that. It's like that's crazy, bro. And like it just my inner child like would probably have been similar. At first it would be scared, and I would have to. It would have raised my awareness.
yeah.
So that's the root of my awareness right there. Yeah, at this point in time, like I better be aware because these things in the past taught me that. So it's like now that I've been through that, I didn't choose to go. You didn't choose to go through that. Like I'm aware that any time something could come flying at my head, and this may not be a stone. This may just be like a word or somebody in traffic yelling at you or honking at you. It's just for every action there's the equal or opposite reaction, right? And
Yeah, there's like a different culture over there, dude. Like conflict is a big part of our culture. It's a normal part of our culture. And I brought that with me here to America because I've seen the beauty of conflict. And I think great works of art come from conflict amongst other great things. But and it's treated like so taboo here. Like we all need to be nice to each other and uber respectful, which I do agree that respect is a good thing. But over there, dude, like I'll never forget, man. I was like sitting in traffic there, and you see people fighting each other constantly over there. The fights are just normal. And I seen two buses, right, pull up like side by side, and there's one dude in one bus who got in a fight with the other dude in the other bus that are across from each other, and they're both hanging halfway out the window of their buses, like trying to beat the shit out of each other. Like that's how often and funny it was. And I just look over there, I'm like, oh my God, these people really just want to fuck each other up all the time, dude. And it's not funny because it comes from a place of like society-wide trauma. This country's been at war for 50 fucking years, you know. So like fighting is all they know. True, like that conflict is all they know. But then I come to the other extreme here in America where it's like if you a little too much at someone, they get triggered, or you're not in a safe space, or this or that. Like it was a total different thing. Like I remember being in a grocery store with my bass player out there. I won't say their names. I'll try to keep it anonymous because they don't really want to be mentioned. This is the District Unknown guys that kind of want to be anonymous, you know.
Okay,
but like, bro, like somebody cut him off in line at a grocery store, and it was a fist fight. Like imagine somebody gets in front of you in the self checkout, and then you just start beating the shit out of each other. Like that's just how it was over there, you know.
Yeah, man.
So, see, you think that you get like desensitized to it. Then I came here and I went to the other extreme. And it took me like the better part of 10 years to realize that conflict is actually an important, integral part of the human experience. It's how great things are born. It's just how do you do conflict? How do you carry out your conflict? Is it a violent conflict or is it a constructive? Is it destructive or constructive conflict?
Right.
And I think most people have a tendency to want to be destructive with their conflict, which is not, you know, knowing any better.
Well, that goes into projection and that psychology of projecting like your negative traumas, our negative traumas and stuff. But if you look into Native American culture, conflict, you're right on to something. Conflict is very, very, very important because there's like one tribe member and another tribe member, and they both have conflict with each other. They're button heads, almost dang near, you know, swinging, shooting bows, throwing whatever they have, rocks, this and that. They're mouthing off, dang near mouthing off, or already starting to have conflict. But what lies in the middle of conflict with the voice, just a voice, set aside all weapons, lay down your swords, is resolution. So,
yeah, man. And more often than not, I think conflict happens between two different parties that are really passionate and want really good things to happen, but they have a totally different approach of how that should happen. And so that's where the conflict comes from. It's like trying to reconcile that you both probably want the same things. Like,
and here's Keith from he's the dude in the ska band from earlier.
He
said that happens in Pueblo for where order from him all the time.
Pueblo's a little spicy.
As you know, you guys played out there in the bomb shelter.
We did. We played. We smoked out bomb shelter, man. It was such a good time. There's
What
steam
up,
rising from it.
Yeah, man. Yeah, so that's interesting because like conflict can be physical, it can be destructive, it can be productive, and it can be resolving.
Yeah, but I mean, this is one of the reasons why I really appreciate like mixed martial arts and all those things that are going on, because what I believe that one of the first things you're taught in this mixed martial arts is like that you have to exercise caution, and that it just, and basically you can stand and spar with your friend or your you know, the person that's at that gym that you know and you see and you probably have a relationship of some kind with, and you could punch each other in the face and then be cool afterwards.
But you honor each other at the end.
That's a really, really important lesson to learn, especially like, I mean, I don't want to get started on the subject of masculinity and where it's at right now, but in terms of like the divine masculine, like I think every man should have a capacity for violence, should know how to be violent, should know how to handle physical conflict at any point. But also the most divine form of masculinity is not doing that. Like knowing that you can, but controlling that urge.
Exactly what my MMA coach taught me. He avoid using your voice.
That's the first rule they teach you. Like the first rule is don't fight people. Even I'm going to teach you how to fight people, but don't fight people. Just don't do it.
Yeah, just don't do it.
But know how to do it. Know how to do it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So that's where it is. It's like you're coming from a position of abundance instead of scarcity. You're operating from a position of abundance, which means you're not going to be desperate. You're not going to be emotional. You're going to be safe and secure with the way you carry yourself. And I think that's a really important like lesson for people.
Which goes into emotional intelligence 101 right there.
Yep.
And me personally, I can tell you I've failed left and right on my journey in life here on earth with emotional intelligence. And I fall short every single day.
Can you clarify like emotional intelligence? Because I've heard that thrown around as a buzzword, and I've really not got an answer that I'm like happy with on what that actually is.
Okay, so let's see. Emotional intelligence. I'm not gonna try and people please you here because I don't. That's an intelligence of my own. I know that I can be a people pleaser, because of my roots understanding of wanting to be accepted, always being the new kid in a new school, like every other 3 years or so or whatever, my whole entire life. Knowing where you come from, knowing your dark side, knowing why I react this way or why I reacted this way in this situation, and the roots of what that is. What was the desires behind reacting in this resentful way? Was it prideful? Was it insecure? Did I have
sounds like awareness? It sounds like self-awareness.
Self-awareness, yeah. So if I'm very self-aware of my emotions, that means I can discern. I can judge within.
Yeah, it's a very important skill, man. Is like when you knee-jerk react to something, if you can look at that later and be okay, like where did this come from, and why did it happen the way it did? And I say to a lot of people, dude, it's like it's not particularly about solving some disease that you have inside yourself. It's just about managing. It's managing your humanity. That's all it is. Like we're humans. We have emotions. That's how we are. Do you operate on your emotions, or do you use, do you rationalize the world around you before you make decisions? Do you mind the gap, right, between when something happens and when you have a reaction to it?
Mind the gap. What do you mean by mind the gap? That's an interesting phrase.
Mind the gap. Okay, I'll give you an example. I'm walking down the street and a homeless guy just comes up to me and is the ability to manage both your own emotions and understand the emotions of people around you. Good old Panky.
Yeah, that's a deep one right there.
So let's say you're walking down the street and a homeless person comes up to you and just calls you like a really nasty name completely at random, So you have a moment in time. You're obviously, like most people are gonna, and that's going to create some kind of trigger or anger, some kind of reaction, right? So minding the gap is like, how soon do you react? Do you just knee jerk right away? Do you just say something back, or do you punch the guy in the face or whatever? Or do you mind the gap? Do you let it sit for a second or two and you think, you process that, you live in that space of like, okay, what am I actually, how should I take this? And then you'll find the longer that you sit there, you'll realize like, man, maybe this guy's just having a really bad day.
Goes back into, I'm gonna pop that back on what Lucidic said. Pinky, shout out to you, brother. He said it's the ability to manage both your own my own emotions and the emotions of other people's around you. So he used the word manage. That means really I can't manage anybody else's emotions, but I can manage what I think or believe they must be or already understand they're going through. Like, so this person next to me that just threw some foul language at me that I took personally. Toltec wisdom number 1: don't take anything personally. Shout out to Don Miguel Ruiz. This person's best friend could have just died from heroin today. This person's dog could have just died. This person's uncle just imagine the worst thing that could happen to you. Or happening to that person today or in that moment, or them just thinking of it or reminiscing on it. Like, just understanding is like a big key of what he just said. And like that you said, minding the gap. Okay, so this person just cut me off in traffic, so I must mind the gap here before I just start honking and screaming foul language at them or road raging. Set aside the fact I might want to ride it my bumper straight into theirs. Like, like I may feel that way, but like that's emotional intelligence that I'm aware of that I feel that way. And then I'm like, turn it on to them, like with understanding and the roots, of compassion and the willingness to even go there. It's a whole nother level. This person might be on the way to be
the funeral
anything. And we have creative minds, right? So like, and it doesn't matter if we're right or wrong. That's almost where delusional optimism comes in play. To like this person may just want to drive and get a beer at the liquor store, but like if I think that they're running to the hospital to because their friend's on the ventilator, and like then that saves me from my own resentment. But I might be delusional or incorrect, but that's okay. And I find out later it's just getting a beer that he wanted a freaking.
Well, the thing is, like,
and his laugh,
that's the weird thing about life. Is like 9 times out of 10 you don't get to know. You don't get to find out what that answer is. So that just goes to show that like you can either allow others in this world to control your emotional mind state and the way that you, like Pinky said there, like the way that you manage your emotions. You can allow that control to others, or you can take command of it and you can decide what to do. And I say that all the time. It's like, minding the gap. It's like it's normal, dude. It's normal to feel emotions. There's nothing about like on the subject of masculinity. There's nothing to my knowledge about masculinity that says you're not allowed to have emotion. That's just stupid. That's stupid. Emotion is a part of humanity. It's a part of being a human being. It's like the emotion of fear. When you see a bear about to like eat you, you feel the emotion of fear, right? He who angers you controls you. Yeah, you let people know where your buttons are, they'll push them over and over again. Totally. But like, so it's like that's normal. It's normal to feel emotions. Where the conundrum begins is like, who can manage that feeling and what the result of it is. That's where the consciousness, I think, begins. It's like knowing like, okay, I'm pissed right now. I'm probably hungry. I probably haven't slept enough. Should I be making this decision that's going to have a lot of impact on a lot of people, or or is something important? Should I be doing anything important? Like, no, dude, like go eat a sandwich and then do important shit. You know what I mean?
And what's important and why is it important? And then how's it going to affect me and or others? Is it going to cause harm or this or that or the third?
Yeah. And also like, dude, you might look at something one way. There's a lot of science to show that we are more in our emotions towards the evening, later at night. And to me, that's why I exclusively write music in the evening at night, because there's some solitude and quiet in the night that allows you to just open up and do that, divine, creative, spiritual practice.
You know what drove I can relate to you in that I always love playing under a full moon, but like I was in a meeting one time with an artist. He actually has the freaking same name as you, which it's crazy. Just realized now, synchronicities. Um, he paints, and I asked him in this question. I was like, when's your favorite? And he used to be a drug addict and has a wild story, but now he's cleaned up. He's like, when do you paint? Like, what's your favorite time to paint? Like, do you like to paint on full moons? Because I love making music on full moons. You already know, but like, he's like, nah, man, like, I used to be that way. He's like, my favorite thing to do when I paint. This is an old '60s where, like, like just hippie, like out there, like wilding with the revolution. But he's old school, and he's like, he paints beautiful pictures with a canvas, and he's like, I like to wake up in the morning, do a little meditation, drink my coffee, and just start there because my mind is clear. It hasn't already been affected by the day's pain and suffering. And I'm like, whoa, Sully. This is a different Sully. And I was like, wow, man. Like, and you know who else does that? Is Eminem, the rapper.
Yeah.
So, like, he puts himself on a rigorous schedule set aside. Like,
Brandon's that way, too. Brandon's
really?
like that, too, in my band. Yeah, he prefers to work in the daytime.
Yeah, it's so now having those options in mind, it's like you can use them to your ability to your alchemize them to your favor, like creatively, like with whatever you do. Like, it doesn't have to be music, doesn't have to be art. It can be just basic I got to do some paperwork or some spreadsheets. I think I'll be more clear for my job in the morning. Like, rather than at night. I don't want to like have to type all this stuff out, and like, because all this stuff already happened to me, I didn't process it. But like, as an artist, it's a little different. It can go in many realms of existence, right? Yeah, so there's options there. I like having options in life, for sure. I don't want to be stuck in the same linear level that's already the only linearly we know, is like this now until we leave this earth. But like, that's why I like traveling. That's why I don't like staying in one place for too long. And I was conditioned that way because I moved a lot when I was a kid. And similar to you, like you were in Afghanistan. No, kind of nomad lifestyle. We talked about that last night. I didn't have a choice. I almost moved to South Africa when I was like 6 years old. My mom was like, "Oh, that ain't happening. Just we're not going down, and we're not moving to South Africa." Like, I'm like,
I lived in West Africa when I was a kid for 1 year. We were kind of all over the place, but in my childhood,
West Africa is a different story.
Yeah, it was a country called Benin.
Wow.
I lived in a city called Porto Novo.
What's it like out there?
Dude, it was so different. It was like the infrastructure, the lifestyle, everything. Very farmland, like I don't know. It's hard to goats and chickens and dirt roads and monkeys and like lizards and people on motorcycles, dirt roads and shit. It was like a vibe for sure.
Yeah, I mean, as a younger kid, that would be a vibe. It reminds me of being in Texas as a child, riding little 80cc dirt bikes off the coast of the Gulf of Mexico, like, and just not giving a dang about how fast I'm going or who's watching and what I'm doing, and country life, man. In Africa, that it's beautiful. What's up?
Yeah, I was just gonna say, I'd want to talk if we can, kind of like get the conversation going more to like the Afreet stuff, and then I got to roll like pretty soon.
Yeah.
So if that's cool with you.
So back to that, we talked about the history of that. Some people missed a lot of that, but Afreet was on a documentary that was highly spicy and highly controversial and had a lot of conflict due to Sully used to be in a metal band in Afghanistan when he was younger, and there's a documentary that got taken down because of it. There's a music video that might be out there still that's if he's willing to share with us. So I can't find. I dug for it because it's such an it made me cry. It's such an emotional video. I didn't even know it was him when he showed me it. I was like, who is this? It's so professionally, like, emotionally and produced well to me. And like he was like, that's me. I'm like, no way. And it created this like huge controversy within the documentary scene, within the spiritual communities, within his personal life, and reconditioning coming back to Colorado. And Afreet is now alive today. Set aside the traumas and the things that happened in the past, so you can catch the replay for that. And they may or may not need some assistance due to some things that have happened because of their backline story, which is very traumatic. I don't know where all the members don't want to be seen right now. So I would put respect to that. How is Afreet operating right now? What can we do to help you guys not be stoned to death for doing what you love, playing with your guitars and voices?
Well, yeah. So, I mean, with Afreet, it's a little different than the District Unknown stuff because we're very much out in the open, and we kind of have the liberty of doing that because we live in Western countries now. Afreet currently consists of me, Pinky, who's a very good friend, and and Yosef, who was one of the original members of District Unknown as well. Yosef lives in Newcastle and the United Kingdom. And so, yeah, we are still operating. We've written parts of a full album, and we've just started basically a fundraiser to support the publishing of our first full record, our first full album. And this is something that we're following in the footsteps of District Unknown, but District Unknown pulled their first album. It was against my consent. It was against my will, but they pulled it off of the internet because they didn't want to jeopardize their safety, their security around the world. I don't want to get into the politics of that. It's a whole can of worms with the remaining District Unknown.
Don't blame me.
But yeah, we are very much about to make history with the first true Afghan metal record in the history of the world. And so that's what we're fundraising for. It's basically to pay the cost of us to take the time away and get the songs recorded, get them mixed, get them mastered, and pushed out into the world. So that's going live tonight as of the airing of this podcast. We are launching that fundraiser. There's a lot of really cool stuff going on. The album is called Blood God, which is maybe a little controversial. I think told you again about our difficulty with religious actors, and choosing that kind of a name was difficult, but we have a lot of artistic reasons for it, and we're excited to go into all that. We have songs that will be in Persian and English and a mixture of the two, and we plan to tour it in Europe as soon as it's all done. So that's the fundraiser. It's live now. To me, it just represents us carrying on the banner of we're still going to make music that represents us. There's a subset of people that are either from Afghanistan or have lived there, expatriates from all around the world, and they identify with that kind of life, that culture, those people that we really grew close to there, and they want to feel represented. It's a small group of people, but we're on a mission to make sure that those people who are into that and into that kind of music that we are, and are just this small little family that we built over there, are represented to their fullest. So no matter how pure it is, no matter if we're the only ones doing it, we feel it's our responsibility to put metal in Afghanistan on the map, because nobody else is going to do it if we don't.
Yeah, because they can't. They
can't. It's too dangerous.
So you have a high purpose here. Like, this is a higher purpose. I see that like you're allowing people to get heard, accepted, feel the feelings that they have been governed by and conditioned not to within this album. It's more than just music. There's metalheads that can't tap in over there due to
No.
my
Yeah, it's
aunt is
dangerous.
Persian. My aunt is Persian, and like over there, like, you know, there's a whole controversy with like women having bank accounts and or having iPhones and being able to like do things, and you know, there's a whole controversy over there. So I see where it's going. That is beautiful, brother. And like, if you have a link I can share, I would love to share it. Wherever I share
For
it,
sure.
I could share it. Shoot me it in a DM or something. Um, and
Yeah,
and
I'll
I'll,
post you a link to that to the video, My Land is Breaking, that we did, the one that you know, kind of this whole conversation started from. I'll shoot you a link to our socials and as well the GoFundMe.
I would love to share that, man. I had no clue this went into a higher purpose. I thought this was a thing of the past, and they had stopped y'all from being the first
No.
Afghan metal band. You know, the documentary got shut down, the album got shut down when you were
Album
younger.
got pulled.
Like,
The documentaries that you can still find it. It's on Fire TV. It's called Rockable,
oh no,
Rockabul. Yeah, they renamed it, and the thing is that I don't know if it was against Travis's will or what happened or his producer or what, but they edited it
mm,
heavily. It's heavily edited, and we'll have to talk some more at some point if you want to do like another podcast or something where I can go into the specifics of the very sick like political shit going on with how bands were being represented out there, and how there was a lot of Western influence in, and there were agendas. There were certain bands that you were even put together from the West to try to push some political agenda forward. And I didn't
whoa.
particularly agree with the way the documentary represented my band out there. I think there was a different story. And you know how it is, bro, with a movie or a documentary, you can edit it in many
Mm.
different ways to tell different stories, you know?
It sounds like the roots of many books I've heard too, you know, and
Yeah.
like, yeah,
Uh,
man, that because
but
there's
it's
some
out there.
yeah, that's cool. So Rockable, Rockbul.
Rockabul. It's Rock Kabul.
Oh,
Kabul is the capital city, the capital of Afghanistan. And again, I no love lost with Travis. I think he's a great guy. He just put out another documentary called The Watcher of the Time, which details the horrific events of the collapse of the Afghan government in 2020, I believe it was. So,
wow, wow. So you're working with like a guy that's really doing things with
dude, he
doc.
followed us around for like 7 years with a camera.
Wow, and was he getting stoned too, like with a camera maybe? Dude, oh
Yeah,
man,
man, he was in the shit with us.
wow.
He was in it.
Wow, that's what you call a hardcore, passionate documentary filmmaker right there. Shout out to
Yeah, he
him,
was
dude.
about it, man. He gave up everything. He moved to Afghanistan from Australia. Like he had probably a comfortable life out there. I think he's in Perth right now.
Hmm.
But yeah, shout out to Travis. We've had our disagreements over the years, but he's a great guy and he's a great storyteller, and I appreciate his presence. But yeah, that's about District Unknown.
But now
And then
District Unknown has become a freak, and y'all are free from the struggles and suffering of this backline story of what's been said, and I would love to post that for you. This is like history in the making, dude, and also helping other kids out there make history in the
yeah,
making
man,
within
it
themselves.
is like
Yeah.
I can't like even tell you the feeling you get when you see some comment come up on YouTube where someone's like, dude, I lived in Afghanistan and I was there, or I'm from Afghanistan, I'm Afghan or whatever. And I thought there was no one else in the world who liked the shit that I do. You guys are doing it. It's amazing. Like to me, that's makes it all worth it. The thousands and thousands of hours we spend on making our music, making our art, making sure it's technically proficient, that it's sounds good, it looks good, the aesthetic is there, it can connect with people, it's accessible, they can get it on this platform or the other, they actually know about it. There's a whole marketing campaign and business plan that goes on behind the scenes. Like it's all fucking worth it when somebody says to you, dude, I like this made my day,
Like,
you know?
yeah, you know what? And I could say that right now. This interview with you, Sully, dude, like this made my day, brother. Like it really did. Like man,
Yeah, glad
like
to hear it, man.
it really did. And I have so much. I can hold so much space and so much respect. and I love the passion behind it, brother. So much love for what you're doing with this movement within Afreet. And you know, I didn't, you probably didn't know, but my I have cousins that root from the Middle East, not directly lineage from me, and they might be affected by it too, my immediate family. So this is great stuff, dude. I know you gotta get back to what you gotta get back to, huh? You're over there with Prosvia. Shout out to them. I just bought their new
Oh yeah, dude.
t-shirts.
Dope band. If
Yeah.
you haven't heard, if you don't know, now you know.
Now you know.
Yeah, good things coming.
Good
Real
things
excited
coming,
about that,
man.
man.
That was cool.
Close
Like,
friends.
yeah, real excited. Dude, it's an honor to know you. Like I said, it's a
Same,
pleasure
dude.
to
Pleasure's mine.
nice. Pleasure's mine too to cross your path, and receive the wisdom and the unknowing, that unseen scars. Let's see, like there you were saying earlier, and
Mhm.
have been shown of your journey. And thank you for your vulnerability. Um, I know it's tough to sit in a place like that, and you don't know who's watching. And it's much respect, brother. That's what this means here in Japanese. Respect.
Appreciate it, dude. Yeah,
It's on
thank
my
you.
hand. Yeah, and
Right on.
we'll touch later soon. Shoot me that in my direct message.
For sure,
We
man.
might
For
we
sure.
might have a healing closing ceremony for this entire event right after this. I've got to touch
Awesome.
base with the
I'll try to
community.
attend if I can. I'll absolutely try to attend.
I know you're super busy. I appreciate the desire,
For
and
sure.
thank you for who you are. And you've been
Appreciate it, man. I
a fan.
appreciate the chance to speak. I appreciate the chance to work with you at the Crucible. It was an unforgettable time.
Yeah,
And yeah, dude, absolutely appreciate what you're doing on your platform, the healing, the positivity, the divinity. There's a lot of it around us. We just have to see it.
thank
And
you, brother.
yeah, we'll be in touch, man. I'll be around.
Already. You
And
that's
thanks to everybody
we.
who listened too, man. Thank you guys for showing up and listening, checking it out.
Yeah, man, and thanks for y'all watching the replay. Much love, blessed be. So it is, so it ain't, so it be. Here we are, all in peace, harmony. Love y'all. Later.
Peace.